Coming up on Tuesday, August the 6th, and going until Friday, August 9th, the University of Manitoba's Des Hôtels Faculty of Music, in collaboration with the Manitoba Band Association, will be hosting 2 amazing workshops geared for band students who are in middle school and high school. The Prairie Percussion Workshop and the Prairie Brass Workshop have become vibrant, perennial favorites of the Manitoba band community's summer season. These 2 camps help students develop fundamentals in their playing and further their understanding of their chosen discipline. It is also a chance for students to get out and have fun making music with others while receiving tutelage from some of the best instrument-specific specialists in the province. And joining me here in the Classic 107 studio, I am joined by percussionist and U of M faculty member Victoria Sparks, who is the founder and coordinator of the Prairie Percussion Workshop, and tubist Justin Hickmott, who also teaches at the U of M and is one of the Prairie Brass Camp's coordinators. Hello, Justin and Tori. Nice to have you here.
Hi, good to be here.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Tori, I want to start with you. The Prairie Percussion Workshop was started in 2012. What made you want to develop a camp specifically for percussionists?
I was finding that as I was going out to schools and doing workshops with students, teachers would often ask you to come in to work with a student for an hour or work with a small group, that students were really excited about the chance to get to learn technical skills on their instruments. And the percussion family is such a great big family of instruments that I thought, we can do this for more than an hour. And so I thought I built a little schedule where instead of going from math class to English class to gym class at school, you go from timpani class to mallet class to world percussion class to drum set class and make your way through the day, learning the technical skills of all the different areas and facets within the percussion family. So that was kind of the idea that I had to start with, and it's kind of been on a roll since then, pun intended.
It sounds fantastic. And the Prairie Brass Camp did it come out as an expansion of the percussion program? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so last year we had seen the work that Tori had done, and Tori, I think you spoke to Paul Jeffrey?
Yeah, I got a call from Paul Jeffrey from the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra saying, we've been thinking we want to do something from brass. I want to pick your brain. And my first thought was, we should do this together. We should do it at the same time. 1 + 1 is 11. And so the energy of having the camps run at the same time where the students get to interact and work together just seemed like a smart idea, and the numbers weren't wrong.
Yeah, and all this great framework of an actual camp had already been established. So it wasn't really, it's kind of shocking how much you do, but it's also how well organized you are and everything too. It made a lot of sense to add brass to that, and who knows in the future too.
And we've been really lucky with the Des Hôtels Faculty of Music. We have the facilities to be able to host 2 camps simultaneously. I go to our facilities person, and she says, "Which rooms do you need?" And I said, "All of them. Book them all." And we've got events running all throughout the building. Really fun in the summer when our students, our regular faculty music students, are away. We get to have some noise in the building. So that's always a popular week.
Make a ruckus.
Exactly.
Can you briefly talk about the role the Manitoba Band Association plays in the 2 camps?
Yeah, when I started the camps back in 2012, it was just me, and I rented some space, and we did the workshop and had a great time. And after a few years, it was starting to grow, and the numbers were getting bigger. And I had some conversations with the Manitoba Band Association, and they said, we already run some summer camps. We could probably help you run this camp and help take care of some of the registration and some of the administration side of things. You will still run the camp, but we can help with some of the admin things. And so that was just a huge relief and a big, really wonderful partnership that we've developed over the years. So this is now part of the family of Manitoba Band Association camps, and they just offer all different kinds of things all throughout the city for campers through the month of August.
Yeah, they sure do. One of the many things that is so excellent about the workshops is the top flight faculty. They're both great teachers and players. Can you both briefly talk about who is on faculty for the respective camps this year? Justin, maybe I'll start with you.
Yeah, so at the Prairie Brass Camp, we have myself on tuba, we have Paul Jeffrey, Dr. Richard Gillis, Jenny Taylor on trumpets. Any trumpets I missed? I think.
That's it.
Yeah, there's always a lot of trumpets. We have Patty Evans on horn and Steve Dyer on trombone, and who's actually coming for horn this year? Or sorry, Patty's on horn.
French horn, yeah.
Yeah, and did I miss anyone?
I think you got them all.
Yeah. So incredible faculty, a lot of Winnipeg Symphony players, but all really renowned and educators with great track records as well. So
who are great mentors and great teachers.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Tori, how about you? Who's coming in for percussion?
This year on the percussion side, we have Ben Reimer coming in to do some drum set and some ensembles. Scott Senior coming in to do some world music, Afro-Cuban, Peruvian percussion. We've got Noah Slesky and Alyssa Poirot, and who are actually music teachers in the community, who are former students of mine, which is always a real joy for me, coming back to do some teaching. And Caroline Bucher, who's a really wonderful freelance performer in the city, playing all over the place.
Wow, that's going to be just great. I was on the website and I was checking out the schedules for the two camps. They both look so great. Justin, one of the things that is so awesome about the students for brass camp is they start out the day by warming up together in their instrument groups. For those who don't know, why is warming up on brass so important, and how does it really help their playing?
Warming up on a brass instrument, it's not unlike warming up if you were ever to play a sport or do anything else strenuous, dance. You really need to make sure you're in the right place to do the work that you need to do that day or want to do. And it allows you ultimately to have more fun and worry less about the core skills and how am I feeling today? Are my lips buzzing the way they need to? Are my fingers in the right spots? Or how's my instrument working as well? So it's ingraining the good habits of a young musician to have some way of checking over where their playing is at, and hopefully each day they're returning to a consistent baseline so that they can build from that, rather than rolling the dice and hoping something works that day. That's kind of the biggest part. And when students are in high school environments, it can often be really difficult to learn about their specific instruments warm up. So that's a really great opportunity at the Prairie Brass Camp affords them is we can talk about how is the warm up for a tuba different from a French horn, different from a trumpet or a trombone.
Yeah. So. One of the things I love about watching brass players warm up is just air. The importance of air and just maintaining that airflow and the endurance. Speaking of myself, when I was a student at ASU, the tuba teacher was Sam Playfian, and he used to have breathing classes for all wind players. And I think it's one of the things that I think is so amazing about warm-ups for brass players is just developing that good air column, and it helps endurance too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Sam Playfian and Pat Sheridan were famous in starting something called the Breathing Gym, which is famous in the brass world. I'm not sure if it's made it to percussion yet. We'll get there. But they're incredible with it. And there's actually even a version 2 out now, not to throw that out there for them, but I'm a big fan of kind of a more modern take on the Breathing Gym. But it's also so important, and we talk about that during Prairie Brass Camp and all sorts of other systems and etudes and all sorts of stuff that students can use to just help them have fun and not worry about how am I breathing, how am I playing these scales.
That might have been the best feedback we got from the camp last year was the amount of students saying it was so exciting to learn about my instrument from an expert on my instrument. We got a lot of really positive feedback about that.
And Tori, as a percussionist, there's so many bases to cover. I mean, percussionists, you've got to play mallet instruments, snare, drum kit, timpani, auxiliary instruments. And in the Prairie Percussion Workshop, you've touched on it earlier, there's classes for each of these disciplines. For you, as the camp developer, is it just about developing a well-rounded percussionist?
It's about developing those skills and also giving a kid a chance to find out which of them is the one that kind of speaks to them. Most percussionists will say, oh yeah, I can do a little bit of most things, but kind of in my heart of hearts, the thing that speaks to my soul is drum set or is mallets or is world percussion. But a lot of times the student hasn't had a chance to really get a chance to expose themselves to all of those different areas in a more concentrated way. And then also access to gear. For percussion, you need the stuff. Right. And we have the stuff. And so every time the kids walk into the drum set classroom and there are 10 drum sets set up in one room, it is the loudest room. It is at the end of the hall. But they'd have never seen that before. So where you go to class and everybody has their own drum set to be learning the skills at the same time. And that's always really exciting to get a chance to actually learn the skill with other people. Percussionists are typically, oh, you're playing the snare drum when you're playing the bass drum. Well, you're doing a totally different skill than you are simultaneously. Yeah. So the teaching is complicated. Whereas when we can isolate one instrument at a time and give everybody that instrument, we can talk about timpani skills and everybody's got their own timpani to play. And we can do that together, which we just don't get to do in any other instructional setting.
Yeah, fantastic.
Plus it's fun. It's so much stuff.
I kind of want to try the percussion side myself now.
Yeah, I picture a room full of drum kits. I just think break out the aspirin and go to town. Is every day different for the camps, or is there some routine? What does a day look like for the Percussion and Brass Camp. Justin, maybe can you talk us through the day? What does a typical day look like?
I mean, well, yeah, as you mentioned already, we start with warm-ups, and the day is kind of divided into, it can depend on the day, but typically we try to keep it consistent where they have different, they'll have a master class, they'll have chamber ensembles to play with, they'll have a larger ensemble to play with. So there's a good variety of things to go throughout the day with breaks, of course. You know, we want to make sure no one's, you know, working to injury or, you know, where mental capacity just won't handle. So, yeah, there's plenty of variety in the day for sure.
And Tori, what does a percussion day look like?
Similar on the percussion side, we have a cycle of these technical classes where you learn about the different instrument groups. We also have a small ensemble section where you get to play in your group. Everybody's on a different instrument then, and we get to learn some pieces because at the end of the week, we got to have something to play for grandma. So we do some small ensemble and chamber music. And then it's summer camp. So we also have a session each day where both camps come together and we have a performance or some kind of a session or discussion or an activity that everybody does together. We've got a few games, a few things that kind of bring out everybody's fun and competitive side. You haven't lived until you have seen a sleigh bell relay race. It is beautiful, which is where you're moving sleigh bells with no sound.
It's like an egg spoon race.
But with noise, it's wonderful. Yeah.
Sounds just great. I'm going to ask a question of both of you. Can you each talk about some of the big issues or problems that you see in young developing players? Like, is it the same issues that keep popping up, like coordination perhaps for percussionists or air support for brass players? What are some of the issues? Tori, maybe I'll start with you.
You know, one of the biggest demands for percussion instruments is that you have to be able to see what you're doing with your hands on the instrument. You have to be able to see your music on the music stand, and you have to be able to see your conductor. Yeah. And so being able to put your eyes in 3 different places is so difficult for young students. So we often talk about, you know, do you learn sight or sound or sight? And so often trying to get the students to learn enough confidence playing the instrument that they can get their eyes off the instrument and up to the page of the music, or even better than that, up to their conductor, just to kind of stay together, or up to the other musicians that they're working with. So kind of developing that confidence here so that they can kind of get past that and up into the world of the other people that they're working with. That's one of the big challenges we face in percussion.
And Justin, what about you? What's one of the more common issues?
Yeah, I mean, most brass instruments are blessed with only having to worry about 1 or maybe 2 instruments at a time. But for us, I would say, speaking as a tubist especially, it's hard to, especially, you know, during the past couple of years, it's been hard to impress upon students how much music has to be felt as much as it has to be heard, and that you have a voice that's worth hearing. That's what I end up trying to teach a lot in roundabout ways, of course. And you know, the tuba is something that's designed to be heard over a city block or a 3,000 seat concert hall, right? So it's really, don't be shy, be brave, and be fearless of making mistakes as well. Giving yourself permission to make mistakes is something that I see as a real hill to climb for a lot of students these days, when we're in this world that has sometimes contorted views of what something should be, and rather than what they have to offer, which is something beautiful, right? Yeah. And so personally, I love to try to spend as much time on those as we can while we're doing fundamentals, while we're doing breathing, while we're doing all sorts of things. So
Sammy used to say, do you sing through the tuba?
Yeah, sing your heart out.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to be clear, it's not just intensive classes. There's small ensembles. We've talked about this for students to take part in. How are the groups set up? Does it go by years experience, instruments needed? How does that work?
All of the above. So we get a list of students. The information we get is kind of what grade they're in and how many years they've been playing and whether or not they've been taking private lessons. So we know a little bit about them, but we've never met most of them. I mean, we've met the ones that came last year, so we know a few of them. So we kind of put the groups together as best we think logical, you know, similar ages, similar levels of experience. And then on the first day, we also make adjustments if we need to. We want to make sure that everybody's with a group that will challenge them and not overwhelm them. We want to make sure that they are with, you know, somebody that's maybe a similar age, so that they have, you know, a buddy to hang with. So it's the goal is kind of all the things you were talking about. How can you be in a space where you feel brave to kind of go forward and try something new, and also in an environment where you will get challenged. It'll be to kind of push yourself beyond what you could do at the beginning of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. You've touched on it again. There's a concert at the end of the camp, some for the parents and grandparents to hear.
Yeah.
Is there any crossover between the two? Like, do you ever get like brass ensembles playing with percussion? I mean, they work so well together.
Yeah, go for it.
We definitely try to incorporate as much as possible. There's a sessions where we're going to be performing. The faculty will be performing for the students this year, for example, and we try to definitely make sure we have a mix of percussion in there as well. And last year, the brass side of it, we were still learning, of how exactly things work best. So we had a really great foundation of approach, and we were trying to figure out, how do we make sure that there's a balance and that brass students can get some percussion, but and the flip and the reverse is true as well. So we definitely try to incorporate it as much as possible.
Yeah. And then with a large brass ensemble, it's very typical that there would be some percussion involved. So when we can, we might try to say, let's make sure the percussion students come and cover those parts or pass some things around. And then also, like I mentioned, we have some kind of games and workshops. And so when we make up the teams for those, you have to have some brass and you have to have some percussion on the team so that everybody's got to make a new friend.
True,
At the end of the camp, what kinds of changes do you see in students? Justin, it's only been on for a couple of years, and Tori, it's been on for a number of years. What were some of the big changes that you saw last year, Justin?
It's confidence in the core skills that these students are carrying. So my impression is that, and actually some of the feedback we get from music educators that we work with throughout the year, is that these students have a better foundation to work from, and actually maybe even be kind of bored sometimes in their band class because, they're not thinking about those little fundamental things that we kind of drill into them or really work hard on throughout the week. And so these students have more fun playing music often and are able to take advantages of more opportunities to play chamber music. They're not afraid of sitting with 5 students making something rather than 30. So there's just kind of a confidence swagger change in the students walking out there, really proud of what they did and have had fun.
And Tori, how about you? For percussionists, what's the biggest change that you see?
Yeah, it's usually in the little guys. We have a group that I always call the group that saw the light, because music teachers often start percussionists in the second year of their program. So their first year they'll have played a different instrument, and then they'll tell their teacher, "I think I'd like to switch over to percussion." And the teachers will often say, "Okay, but you might have to go to this camp." And so we get a group that comes in that hasn't played any percussion at all. They've studied some music, but have never. So we are putting sticks in their hands for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And what they do in 4 days is remarkable. And they just get this kind of full immersion, so that when they arrive back in their programs in September, they've seen all these instruments, they've held all these instruments. They don't get a part that says tambourine, triangle, bass drum, and crash cymbals and go, I don't even know what all those things are. They've had those experiences. That confidence is really the big thing, is that willingness to try something new, willingness to make a mistake, willingness to say, wrong and strong, I'm going to go for it and then figure out what I did, and then it'll be better next time. That's like one of the most important lessons we learn about being a human being through studying music.
Absolutely.
Is making mistakes and learning from them and keeping going and do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, go big or go home.
Yeah, for sure.
Justin and Tori, the Prairie Percussion and Brass camps sound fantastic. Where can people go to register?
All the registrations are handled through the Manitoba Band Association, so they've got a page on their website, mband.org, summer band camps. So if you scroll through there and click register, then these are 2 of the camps that are on their list, and there's also others happening in August that are that I think there's also still some spaces available. So
there sure are.
Yeah.
And for our Classic 107 listeners, I've embedded a direct link in the article. You can find it at classic107.com. In the article, I've embedded a direct link to the registration page at the MBA.
Awesome.
So there you go. Tori and Justin, this has been so great to talk about the Prairie Percussion and Prairie Brass workshops that happen August 6th through to the 9th at the University of Manitoba's Desautels Faculty of Music. I am sure, as always, they're going to be just awesome. Thanks for taking the time to pop by and talk to me today. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much.
It's going to be fun.